What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports. You're watching our college football channel. We're going to give you our projected standings for the Pac-12. If you missed the videos, we've done the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the ACC. So we're going to round out the Power 5 conferences here today. This is not an official prediction. I want to make that clear right off the bat. This is simply a projection based off of how I feel most people think about these teams, what the national narrative is around these teams in the Pac-12, and then putting that up against their schedule. And we did all the projected record videos on a lot of the teams, but the Pac-12, we really didn't get to many of those teams. We did one for Oregon, we did one for USC, but we didn't do the other Pac-12 teams. So this is the first time you're going to see these projections for 10 of the 12 Pac-12 teams. So let's get into it here. We'll start with the Pac-12 North, and at the bottom we have Oregon State and Stanford, both teams projected to go 3-6 in the conference. Oregon State at 5-7, Stanford at 4-8. So both teams would miss out on a bowl game. Oregon State's a program that's getting better. 3-6 is a pretty good record for them if you think about where they were just a couple of years ago. Stanford's really struggling right now, and they have a brutal schedule, non-conference schedule that's really tough. So we got them losing a couple of games even outside of the conference. And keep in mind also, if you missed those other videos, the projections that we do are simply based off of the overall records. So we have to kind of move the conference records around, potentially a game up or down, to make the wins and losses come out the same for the conference record. So keep that in mind. So some teams you could tweak this around a little bit. You could say that Oregon State might go 5-7. But then they might, so let's say they win their non-conference games, and they go 2-7 in the conference. So that would change things a little bit. But both teams here at the bottom of the Pac-12 North, both teams I think have potential to have decent years. But again, it's going to be tough. I think both teams will struggle this year. And like I've said in the other videos, I think this overall record is a good mark to say that if a team does better than this, it's a good season. If it's worse than this record, it's a bad season. So for Oregon State, getting into a bowl game, that should be their goal. For Stanford, even if you go 5-7, that's not a horrible year based off of how tough their schedule is. I think really the goal would be to get to 6-6. But Oregon State going 4-8, that would be a bad year for them. So let's go on now to the next spot here, tied for number 3. We have Cal and Washington State. And anytime there's a tie, we just put the team that has home field advantage in the head-to-head matchup. So Cal has home field advantage against Washington State. Both of these teams projected to go 4-5. Both teams projected to go 6-6 overall. So barely squeaking into a bowl game. Both of these teams have a good bit of returning production, especially Washington State. They got a lot of guys coming back, some transfers coming in. But they're still, I think, a little ways away from really competing in this division. Cal had a rough year last year. I think it was just a funky year with COVID and everything. I think that team was better than what their record would suggest. I think they bounced back to a certain extent here. I think they have a better year this year. And I think these projections are pretty good. Missing out on a bowl game would be a bad year for both Cal and Washington State. Getting to 7-5, I think, would be a pretty good year. So that's what we've got here for Cal and Washington State. Moving on to number 2, that is Washington. 8-4 overall, 6-3 in the conference. And the way these projections worked out, this would mean that they would lose to Michigan, but you could very easily say that they could win that game. If they win that game against Michigan, that does drop their conference record down to 5-4. So 5-4, 6-3, somewhere in there. This team, though, I think has potential to do better than that. When I look at the roster for Washington, I think this is a really dangerous team, a team that could win this division. So 8-4 might be a little bit low for them. I'm telling you, Washington is a team to watch out for. And then Oregon here at number 1, 7-2 in the conference, 9-3 overall. This would have them losing to Ohio State. Again, you change that around, say that they beat Ohio State, then they would go 6-3 in the conference. But I think Oregon is the clear favorite. When you just look at the national narrative around the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 North, Oregon is the team that everyone expects to win. But don't count out Washington. I haven't made my predictions yet. And I really don't know yet. I may go with Washington in this division. I may go with Oregon. I think those are the two teams that have a real good shot. I don't think Cal, Washington State, Oregon State, Stanford, I don't think any of those teams really have a realistic chance in this division. But Washington is going to be a really dangerous team, so watch out for them. But Oregon, Washington clearly at the top here in the Pac-12 North. Let's go to the South now. We've got Arizona at the bottom finishing 1-8 in the conference, 3-9 overall. This is a team that'll probably be underdogs in every game that they play in the Pac-12. But again, when we do these projections and you average the numbers out, you know, the odds would say that you're going to find a win somewhere. So a win somewhere for Arizona. They get to 1-8, but it is a rebuild there at Arizona right now. New head coach, some bad years now for a few years in a row. They're going to be in that rebuild mode coming up these next couple of years, I think. Right ahead of them, we have Colorado finishing 4-5 in the conference, 6-6 overall. This is a team that was near the top of this division last year. And, you know, I don't think they're going to drop off a ton from where they were last season. But you saw, you know, look at that Texas game. This team, they were not a top 25 team last year. I know they were in the top 25, I think, at one point. But it was just the fact that it was a weird year, and they found a way to win some games. And it's a quality team. Again, we've got them projected to go to a bowl game at 6-6. They'll be about the same as they were last year. But I really just think the teams ahead of them in the Pac-12 South, we're talking USC, Utah, UCLA, Arizona State. Those teams are going to be better this year. And I think they're all going to be maybe taking a step that Colorado is not going to take. I've underrated this Colorado team before, so maybe I'm off the mark here. But again, the projection for them, 6-6, 4-5 in the conference. Ahead of them, we have UCLA and Arizona State. Both teams going 5-7 in the conference, 7-5 overall for UCLA, 8-4 overall for Arizona State. Let's say they lose a non-conference game. I think they play BYU. Then they could go 6-3 potentially in the conference if they lose to BYU. And I think this number is a little low for Arizona State. I've been looking into this team, and this is a team that I think has a really good shot to win this division. They have a really easy schedule. The conference schedule is not super easy. They do have some of their tougher games on the road, but overall their schedule I think is pretty easy. And it's a team that I think can absolutely get to 9-3 this year, maybe even better than that. And it's a team that I think can win this division, because I don't think there's a team that's going to run away with it. We're not going to see a one-loss team or an undefeated team in this division. So the team that wins it may have 3 losses even potentially, because I think it's going to be a very competitive division. And then you've got also some tough games against the North in there. But Arizona State there, number 4. UCLA at 5-4. I think their conference schedule kind of works out a little bit better than Arizona State's, but the overall schedule is tougher. We have them going 7-5, losing a non-conference game in there. But 5-4 for both of these teams. Both teams, you know, UCLA seems to be heading in the right direction. Arizona State has a ton of guys coming back. I think this will be one of the more experienced teams in college football. And remember what they did to Arizona at the end of last year? They won that game like 70 to, I can't remember the score, but they put a beat down on Arizona. This is a team that kind of showed some potential. Remember, they beat Oregon a couple of years ago. So yeah, watch out for Arizona State. This is a sneaky team in this division. But Utah and USC are at the top. Both teams going 8-4 overall, 6-3 in the conference. USC has Utah at home. That's why I put them at the top. I think most people are expecting USC to probably win this division, but I'm telling you, it's wide open. Utah has a really good shot. This is a team that brought in some transfers. Charlie Brewer at quarterback, a well-coached team. They're going to be in the running here. Arizona State, like I said, as well. UCLA is kind of the dark horse. We feel like they're heading in the right direction, but are they there yet? Chip Kelly has done a really nice job at least getting things moving in the right direction. Not a really nice job, because they haven't been anywhere near what I think they expected to be when they hired him. But he's getting them in that right direction. It feels like this will be a big year for them. If they don't get it done, if they don't have, you know, at least a 7-5, 8-4 type year, if they miss out on a bowl game, I just don't think it's going to work out with Chip Kelly. So a big year for UCLA. Utah has some promise. USC, the favorite, I think. Arizona State might be the team that should be the favorite when you look at their roster. So this is going to be a really fun division. Don't count out Colorado. They've done it before. I think they're maybe in the running as well. So when we talk about the Pac-12 North, it's Oregon and Washington. Those are the 2 teams. When we talk about the Pac-12 South, you know, there may be 5 teams that have a really legitimate shot to challenge in this division, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But based off of the schedules and just what everyone's really thinking about these teams, this is the projection. Will my prediction look like this? Probably not. There will probably be some teams that are a good bit different when I actually do my predictions. But again, this is the projection for 2021. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.